Hey guys, sorry for not uploading, will get better schedule every 2 days video. Let's start. The aftermath was severe. Major consequences fell upon Udata throat after accidentally endangering the students' lives at the USJ attack. Nizu had hard time sorting out the case and even did a big part in destroying a whole media channel due to them accusing false claims saying other than what happened only to get more views. The parents of the students needed a full true explanation that eat out the poor Jameera head. In the end, the parents was satisfied with the explanation. The students are to be thanked. Supporting U.A and told everyone the facts. Partially though. U.A has faults on their part that leading to a whole 5 to 6 hours of meeting. To discuss the topic of expanding the security and even securing the dorms and finally upgrading the invisible barrier around the compound. And the debatable topic was yet to be brought up. The appearance of the green flame. The heroes are really confused about what's the deal with the vigilante. The man is a mass murderer and at the same time a savior. Contemplating either the man, a hero or villain, is as impossible as getting a hold of him. He just destroyed properties to make sure the people he helps are safe. To be honest, the high-spec hero. Nizu even brainstorming uselessly to think of any loopholes or reasonings of the vigilante's dangerous way of saving someone. The witnesses, which was those who saved by the man, gave almost countless of different scenarios that filled them with more info of what he can do. Nizu could not make a sense of whatever he heard. Not even sure of what kind of quirk the vigilante possessed that not even Izawa Erasure can't erase. He a fire quirk wielder. That's all what they could make sense of his abilities. Nizu even did watch the CCTV recordings of the USJ and saw the whole action between All Might vs the Nomu and then the Green Flame. The heroes in mission did saw it too. They didn't felt fear seeing it would be a clear evident lie. Endeavor, the most mad one along them, was clearly showing jealousy and hatred whenever he hears or sees about the vigilante. Even after watching the powerhouse killing machine having a one-side fight with the Nomu, Endeavor refused to believe that he can't beat the Green Flame. That all to side. 3 heroes were heavily injured during the attack, was luckily recovering at a steady pace. All Might had to go through the suffering he felt 6 years ago and thankfully, Recovery Girl made his condition less fatal. They had to deeply give their attention to his vital organs, which was damaged out of rest of his outside of body. The wound on his abdomen grew in size and deepened slightly and his lungs almost had come out due to they had to remove the shattered part of the rib cage. The wound will had it poking out even if they put together and healed. Thankfully, he's now in tip-top condition. Sadly though, his time limit lessened to 50 minutes out of the 3 hours he had before. The symbol of peace can only be active for less than an hour. At least they are thankful. The green flame showed up just in time. Who knows what would have gone wrong if he didn't. Nizu was thankful for what the vigilante did. Even though their main priority is to capture the man. At the hospital, Toshinori Yagi aka All Might sat on the bed reading a magazine he found interesting. In it he read many claims and theories as well as made-up tales on the green flame. The book itself is the reason the green flame name got popular and media chose to call the vigilante by it. Who knew? A simple piece of paper can change almost anything. Toshinori was reading it and each and every word written in it is all just some lies. He had to say it for sure. The media can go to an extent of anything to promote and gain more goods and won't hesitate to even ruin a poor individual life. But there was something bugging since he met the infamous vigilante. You are a great and true hero, All Might. But I'll call you Toshinori Yagi. The greatest hero that ever lived until this point. But you forgot your ways that you came through. Everyone loves you but you forgot one good importance about you. You were quirkless too. And you proved quirkless can be a hero. But you forgot that fact. You lied to someone else saying quirkless can't be a hero like you. The truth is they can. Those words of the vigilante left an impact in him and can't help but to think about it continuously. After all, whatever the vigilante said was the truth. He was quirkless once and that same him lied to someone else saying quirkless cannot be a hero. But the main thing that bugging him is the question is how really the green flame knows about him. How did he knows about Toshinori's biggest secrets and past? How did he know All Might's real name? And even How did he know All Might did lie to someone? There's a feeling in him saying that. It's not only thing the vigilante knows. The door to his hospital room opened and came in Midnight and Nizu. Midnight almost spits her lollipop at the sight of a fully well and awake All Might. Well. Quite an unexpected sight. I thought you won't be awake for a full year. Your wounds was that worse? Nizu chirped as he climbed on top of a bedside chair. All Might smiled and placed the magazine aside, which Midnight picked up with a raised brow. I've read it already. You think even half of it true? She spoke. I doubt that. They wrote a full page based on I bringing back my vintage hero suit back at one point. It was a hoax. I tell you. All Might said, smiling. That's what I thought. Bastards doesn't keep standards, don't they? Midnight joked, earning 2 chuckles. They just wants content. Make one if there aren't one. That's how media works. A fine good excuse. Why I closed the whole channel. I'm pretty sure they want to believe it's all a hoax too. Nizu said, laughing, and All Might's sweat dropped. You have your own brutal ways of dealing stuff, so. What's going on? Outside? All Might asked. You didn't miss much. The students are all safe. Panicked parents. Nosy reporters. That I've dealt with, and the capture of the villain named Kurojiri. The warp gate was pretty much cooperative and Tsukachi arrested him. Nizu said. That's pretty much. All Might sighed. Then Nizu changed his demeanor to more of a serious one. Say, All Might. We've saw what happened at USJ. Are we missing something else too? Nizu asked, making All Might look up at the Ensai. Then you guys saw his strength. Too. Right. Yeah. Even Snipe Gun didn't do anything when we arrived at the scene. We were shocked to see what he did with the villains. Midnight said. The green flame is more than I could understand. His powers are strange. Fascinating even. It's like. With one quirk. He can do anything. My quirk can't even find anything on him. My theories are repeatedly proven wrong with a new case of his appearance. I am admitting. I really am interested in meeting him. Anything else you figured out, All Might? Nizu asked. I do have only one good info on him. All Might started. Earning their attention. He knew everything about me. My real name. My intention. My past. And he even knows that, I was quirkless. All Might finished. The two was shocked but still kept calm. Dealing with this vigilante did only taught them one important lesson. That is. Not to be shocked of what you hear about him. Even after having all this information on him. They still have nothing. As if he himself a vast unreachable ocean that cannot be explored. Even explored. There is always a bigger fish lurking deep. Adds more clues to the puzzle. I guess. I was even wondering if we could stand a chance when table turns. He's a mass murderer. But saves people now. Can't tell if he'll ditch the saving part in near future. Nizu said, thinking. That's some far-fetched thinking you got there, Nizu. More of theory, I say. In real. He told the students and myself. Be the hero society needs. If he's a killer with no purpose. At USJ. You would have built a memorial for all of us. Nizu. He has an ideal he sticks with, it seems. Like he can read your mind. I think he kills those who deserves it. A thought. That's it? All Might said slowly and slightly winced, feeling a small pain on his side. Nizu sighed, nodding, and Midnight was the one to speak next. You just think that maybe. What about that mist villain? Why he's alive? And why Eraser just acting sicko until we let him go see the villain? Explanation. Midnight asked. All Might looks at them, eyes wide. What do you mean Eraser left? Shouldn't he on hospital bed just like me? I clearly remember I hold him in my arms. I was even scared. Eraser wasn't moving. All Might blurted out loud, ignoring the stabbing pain. Calm down, All Might. You know Eraser. There must be something important. Nizu reassured. All Might then remembered something. Yes. Maybe Aizawa has his reasons. Probably of what happened between the villain and Green Flame. All Might said. Yes, I saw it on the recordings. Sadly, I couldn't quite hear them. What really happened? All Might? Nizu asked, and All Might nodded, agreeing for an explanation. When Green Flame appeared, he tied up the villain using his fire chain. Surprisingly, I remember how unharmed the villain was. Later on he even talked to the villain with something to do with his soul. He said, trapped soul. The reason behind it wasn't clear, though. Just like with me. Green Flame knew his past and real name. I don't know how Green Flame knows everything on everyone. I can't even believe that there is a quirk that can do all this. What's he doing? All Might explained, letting the other two take in everything. Do you heard what the villain name was? It might be helpful for Tsukachi. Nizu wondered. If I could recall it correctly. I remember Green Flame calling the villain Oboro Shirakumo. All Might said, not knowing the value behind the name. However, Nizu and Midnight, who felt like an arrow piercing through their heart, was familiar with the name. The one and only Loud Cloud. Midnight felt like her heart almost stopped due to the sudden shock, and unknowingly, single tear left her eyes. Hearing one of her best friend name, who sacrificed his own dreams and life. Midnight was so shocked and told herself the harsh truth. Oboro is no more. They buried him. But why a villain has that name? She wanted to believe it's all a lie. But if it was a lie, how in the world the vigilante knows Oboro? She couldn't answer any of it. So that's why Aizawa was going crazy this morning. He too believes that their Oboro is still alive. Midnight suddenly ran out of the room. She was heading at the place where Aizawa and Mike is. She wants to know. All Might was confused, and Nizu explained everything about Oboro. How he was the best friend of Eraserhead. Present Mike and Midnight. How valuable and precious person he was. And how tragically he passed away. They were sure he was gone. All Might sighed and let all the tension merge onto his brain. So why are you here anyways? Nizu. That look on your face telling me there's something you want to talk. All Might finally asked the question. Nizu was a bit unsure at first, but it's the perfect time for this. Taking a deep sigh, Nizu calmed himself a bit. You still remember why you were here as a teacher? All Might eyes widened and nodded. I think now your time is running low. It's time you choose your successor. The next day was class off. To cope up with their normal routines again after all that happened, USJ inflicted a harsh impact on both Class A and B. In less than 24 hours, many of them gone through a counseling session, which helped them ease up slightly. In those 24 hours, they realized how precious the life they never gave as much value before. At USJ, they couldn't even think of anything straight. Most of them was thankfully completely unharmed, while some had minor bruises or scratches. For them, their teachers suffered. All they did was defend and follow Eraserhead commands. Izumi had a hard time convincing her mother. She had no injuries and was out of harm's way from beginning. She used to lying though. Being once a rebellious ticking bomb, she was few years old. Izumi did lie to her family when the truth is a bit more harsh. Thankfully in the end, Izumi was off the hook and staying on Udata dorms. Her friends did the same. They believe sticking with one another in situations like this is a true quality of being a hero. Izumi was on her bed staring at the white ceiling, thinking of all the what ifs. Like, what if they never gone for the rescue practice? What if they stick with Aizawa? What if All Might couldn't be there? What if Aizawa didn't have activated his quirk when Shigaraki was almost touching Tsu's face? What if the villain didn't even show up? What if they managed to kill All Might? In thousands of what if, one stands out the most. What if Green Flame never came for the rescue? A question. A single question she didn't want to be answered. A one possible scenario may have happened. They dying in the end along with All Might and teachers. The villains were brutal, not holding back with their attacks. The intentions behind villain strike were to kill them. Even they saw the unbeatable and mighty hero All Might almost dying in the hands of some brainless thing that still gives them nightmares. Green Flame did his entrance later on. Izumi shiver at the thought of him. She can't believe that they saw him before they finds that he the most dangerous vigilante behind the unsolvable massacres. Within few minutes, He destroyed a strong group of villains that somehow managed to make All Might fall on his knees. The strong vigilante was the one presented a beautiful flower to Izuku at his birthday and they didn't even knew. But at both of their encounters, Izumi felt different auras radiating from man. At Cemetery, he had a confusing yet comforting aura. But at USJ, he radiated an aura of terror. Even villains were afraid of the man. Izumi signed up in a site mainly created after Green Flame. People there shares their thoughts, experiences, claims and tales. But following articles never was accurate it seems. They thought at first the vigilante is some sort of mutated fireman with no physical body, and Izumi even checked comments of thousands of people that has many unique yet weird theories. Seeing in person, Izumi decided one thing. Delete her account she separately created for the site. Last thing she could rely on is probably the false news an individual can see there and mistook the realities. The one thing everyone knows. The vigilante wields some sort of fire quirk with uncountable perks. The next what they know of the mystery of the black ashes. At least Izumi and others saw how the black ashes are made. She laughed at her pathetic excuse. Because, she back when heard of the vigilante fire quirk. Did some comparison between her fire quirk and Bakugo explosion with green flame. She hate to admit. But her burn is nowhere near as powerful as the base power of his quirk. That's another reason why she'll do as he tells them to. Be a true hero. Who the society looks up to. After all, she already on the same path as Green Flame. Difference is that, he's way far at the front of the tracks. It'll take God knows how forsaken years. When she'll fulfill her promise. She doesn't want a challenge with him either. All she could do is work up to the point where she can at least see the finish line of her goal. Thinking of all random things. One thing stuck in her mind. Few words precisely. You shouldn't be afraid of situations like this. Be the heroes the society wants. Fake heroes have no mercy from me. So that fear is your own burden. Hide that burden with a smile when you save people. Those lines are almost the exact of what Izuku used to say. The words she once didn't paid much attention to. Thinking that's bunch of hot breath Izuku wasting. After he gone. Those words really started to click on her like a reminder. And she didn't miss the reference Green Flame hid in his words. Not hid but few different choices of word with more commanding and strong touch behind it that forced everyone to consider his words. Sure they'll listen. Having the green flame on you trail behind you isn't gonna be more fun. But as true future hero, Izumi not gonna fulfill her goal in fear of green flame coming after her. No. She'll fulfill it because she wants and needs to. For once in her life. She wants to do something that will help the society live peacefully with no threats lurking behind. Staring subconsciously up at ceiling. Izumi heard her phone went off with a notification popping up. She sighed reaching for her phone next her still staring the ceiling. She brought the bright screen to face it and she read the digital words. School assembly meeting. All students are requested to attend in 15 minutes at the assembly ground. Uniforms aren't required for the first years getting day off. That's what it says. Wait. I thought we're getting a day off. That's weird. She mumbled and then she heard a knock on the door. Izumi. Can we come in? Your voice came. Izumi sighed adjusting her slightly wrinkled black skirt and white shirt with black floral designs. Burst in already? She said sarcastically. So her friends won't notice her tired posture. Well. She doesn't think others are doing any better. Yura and other girls came in with confused faces. A clear indication. They have no clue about the notification either. Hey. Do you check out the message? Mina asked with a finger tapping on her chin. I did. You guys got a clue of why there's an assembly today? I thought it was a free day. Izumi replied and other girls shook their heads a no. I guess we know maybe. I have this feeling. It's gonna be something relates with yesterday's events. I think we should get ready to see others showing us pity. Jiro said a bit frustrated. The punk girl was mad because she couldn't do anything yesterday to deal with the villain. Momo and Kaminari faced. The electric boy. Even when Ganye mode. He was useful. Why don't we let teachers explain us? Kuro. Tsu suggested the logical idea. What other choice we have anyways? Toru said in her usual bubbly voice. Tsu's suggestion is best. We must hear out our teacher point of explanation. Coming up into conclusion is pointless. Momo blurted out, suddenly shifting behavior to a more professional one. Don't you heard our vice rep? Get your legs moving, ladies. Mina butted in with an air fist bump. And nobody knows why she getting so excited about. They nodded agreeing and left the room and met up with Itza and Kirishima. After a earful from their robot-like rep, they finally made it to assembly ground. Class 1A had their eyes open wide after seeing the students gathered at assembly ground. They didn't expect to see second and third year students will be here. Usually, assembly are held differently for all the 3 years. Seeing them gathered all at once gave them enough idea of how important and serious meeting this will be. Suddenly everyone gathered flinched violently at a loud sound. More like a bark. ATT eager WWRGRRESTGRWWRGGGRRRR, Nezrugr growling. Hound dog barked. Students' sweat dropped and didn't even realized. It was an announcement. Are we supposed to do something? I don't get anything. You. Kaminari said. Was he speaking? No way, I missed that part. Siro replied. Why was he even speaking in the first place? Kirishima asked dumbly and others shook their shoulders. Izumi stood there unable to process what's even happening. First they were here on assembly when today was day off. Then this. She won't be surprised if something more weird happens. Hound dog nodded, leaving the podium, which later take hold by Midnight, who surprisingly lost all glow and color of her face. Exhaustion and frustration can be seen clearly on her tired eyes. Well, at hospital she was having her chill time walking around asking for their well-being. Now her appearance clearly resembles Aizawa. Speaking of Aizawa, they couldn't see him anywhere. Midnight takes a hold of the mic and spoke. Now. The notice was short, we know. Principal Nizu wants to speak to all about an important event. Do not come up with any ruckus. Principal will be here in a minute. She announced what Hound Dog intended to announce before. Events. Izumi wondered out loud and her friends had her full attention. They discussed random things about the topic and Izumi noticed their mouse-like principal along with a bandage-covered eraser head. Vlad King and All Might followed by rest of the teachers. Nizu chuckled seeing his students were still as active as ever. Lowering the mic, he cleared his throat, silencing the crowded students. Good morning, students. As you see and confused about me. I'm a dog. A mouse, a bear. What am I? I being your principal. Here for a talk, that's right. Nizu started with a rhyme. The students' sweat dropped again and Nizu cleared his throat again. As Midnight mentioned about the short notice of summoning all of you here. Don't worry. It'll be a few minutes talk. Basically, I've heard you kids talking about this meeting having a connection with the USJ incident. But no. I summoned you all here to announce the tradition of our school. Second and third years may understand. Not being so dramatic. We're having the sports festival just like any other years. Nizu said in his usual happy-go mood. Sports festival? Like the big tournament that surpasses Olympics? Izumi wondered. Students all froze on the spot. Unlike before, students seemed more unsure than happy. Hearing or experiencing a villain attack. They don't know how to feel about this. What if villain attacks again? There must be countless people gonna buy ticket for the seats. And they are afraid if any villains sneak in with regular spectators. Seeing their unsure and wary expression, Nizu figured out what's going on in their minds. The sports festival is getting closer and we did already beef up securities and even arranged many pro-hero assistants of guarding the arena. Like always. First years is at the center of the attention. Being inexperienced. I'll suggest you kids ask for any friendly advice from the seniors. Nizu stopped and that's it? Izumi was confused of why they are called here anyways. Only for a few 2-minute speech or announcement. Shouldn't they just send the notification on their phones or something? Izumi was just fuming. She was comfortably on her bed relaxing and they just ruined. While she's having an inner beatdown. She felt she's being watched. She's sure someone is staring at her. Then it's gone. Oh. It was nothing. She said only to have the feeling come back and leaves and again come back. Sweating slightly she looked around curiously until she saw it. All Might was looking away from her and looked at a senior student with blonde hair. Izumi raised her brow confused. It's not like other teachers aren't watching every one of them. But All Might on it looking between both her and the big boy. He has a bit strained calculating expression. He's contemplating or having a comparison of them. Finally when All Might looks at her again. He saw her already staring back at him. Like nothing happened. All Might looks away. What the? Izumi wondered but shook it off. She then noticed All Might nodding at Nizu who looks at the boy and Nizu smiled. She even saw Izawa is tired but pained eyes exchanging looks at nothing in particular including Midnight and present Mike. The unnaturally dead aura surrounding them made her question. What happened last night? After they left hospital? Well, how in the first place they are fine all together and walking. Izawa is mummified. Covered in band-aids. All Might even had a life-threatening health condition. And there they are. Fit and walking. Tired but walking. Last night with heroes. Tell the truth. Izawa desperately shouted leaning his forehead against the glass cell barrier. He has a slight glint of tears forming his eyes as he stared at the mist villain. Police guards spectating the scene looks each other confused glances watching Eraserhead literally banging his head on the glass yelling at Kurojiri. Eraserhead present Mike time's up. Time to leave. The officer's commands starting to concern. Izawa's hands were wrapped in a cast and for his defense. His capture weapon securely wrapped around his neck. Present Mike soothingly rubs Izawa's shoulder in a calming manner which did the trick. However the ruckus only affected Kurojiri less. He pointed out his story and denied the fact of being someone named Aburo Shirakumo. In fact, Kurojiri didn't even knew this two heroes. Hey. Please calm down please. Mike cooed hugging Izawa sideways. Having his own set of tears flowing. Maybe we're the one with no proof. Come on. We cannot break rules here. Right. Mike soothingly seasoned and stood up lifting up Izawa along. Izawa protested at first but complied eventually. Can't have police charge them too. Izawa nodded and let Mike help him to stand up. Before leaving, Izawa gave Kurojiri one last look and sighed in both defeat and frustration. Did Green Flame lied? If did, then why? And how? Aburo Shirakumo was never a famous person to begin with to think. Green Flame maybe got info of his existence. But claiming a villain is their lost friend. Confidently and believably. Izawa did somehow trust his words. If not, he wouldn't have just ran out of his hospital bed wounded. After a long one-sided conversation, Izawa got nothing which made him overthink scenarios and somehow still cannot dump the idea of Kurojiri being Aburo. Walking out of the entrance Tartarus. Midnight was on them in a second surprising them both. I heard what's going on. Is it true? She asked in a low voice. We don't know either. Shouta was going crazy when we got here. All we have is the belief. Mike replied sadly. Before either of them could continue their conversation, Izawa walked away confusing the other two. Where are you going? Izawa didn't reply or looked back. He just walked away knowing they'll follow him. He needed answers and fast. Relying on Kurojiri answer is out of option now it seems. Izawa in this matter knew what he had to do. Right now. Only one person can answer him and that is. He heard footsteps behind him and a tight hug came from behind and carefully envelops him. Mike cooed comforting words in Izawa's ear trying his best to calm the sleep-deprived hero. Where are you going Eraser? You need rest now. Midnight said coming face to face with him. Izawa looks at her and took a deep breath. To get my answers. He replied simply. How? Mike questions his husband. Are you thinking what I think you're thinking? Midnight mumbled enough for them to hear. Izawa looks at her and nodded. Yes. First I have to get a hold of Green Flame. You know the rest. Izawa replied eyes cold and harsh. Once he lost his best friend. The reason he become a hero. Can't have lose that best friend again. Situation matters too though. If Green Flame is lying. Izawa will lose his mind altogether. Find him. Remember we searched forever and still couldn't find him. I doubt we'll find him that easily. Mike said. Well. Just think. Even if we are successful catching Green Flame. What gives you the idea? He'll open his mouth. Midnight reasoned. Aizawa shook his head at her. I can't guarantee the possibilities. But to find him first. We should search for villains or something. At least our confrontation rate is not a 0%. I have this feeling we find him. Aizawa said and jumped up using his capture weapon to sling across the city faster. Without using his hands. Controlling capture weapon was tough. Still manageable. Aizawa mainly used his scarf and legs while his hands were out of stress inside the cast. His trained yet tired red eyes roamed around the city outlines, making out a possible activity here and there. Last time's encounter. Aizawa knew another specialty of Green Flame. He has a motorcycle so loud scary. And focused mainly on sounds around him. Finally one sound caused him halt mid-flight and hang there on a ledge a tall skyscraper and hold his breath. A technique let you even hear the flap of a butterfly wings. If only you're well trained and focused. Aizawa slowly looks around and heard the same noise. Noise of a small blast. Few minutes earlier. The echo of the bike engine bounced back off the walls the narrow pathway. Izuku sped through the night breeze in his black hell cycle. People are in their houses and barely even people can be seen side of the road. Not that he cared much. Until they are in their safe zone. Out of harm's way. He's not slightly bothered by it. Why being so nosy and overprotective? At least he can sense. There is at least one strong soul in every household. And knew both children and women are safe with the owners the said souls. All matters are their safety. Izuku had his hood down letting his white fluffy hair caressed by the cool atmosphere and he had this wide smile plastered across his face. Riding his hell cycle freely around the city is a refreshment for his hell form. One good bike ride gives you the excitement and energy you'll get when you're at an amusement park. He was also happy about some kidnapped kids can finally go back to their houses. The rider gone berserk and destroyed the hidden lab and murdered the assholes there making sure the kids did not see anything. He sent them through his fire portal to a police station. So the officers could identify and contact the parents of the children. He could help them easily by himself. But scaling a police officer's sense of protection as well as to figure if the police has the stained soul or not. Thankfully. The officers there was so kind and helpful. Which Izuku appreciate. Otherwise. The station probably just ashes by now. Izuku made sure there are no cameras around before he let his hoodie drop few minutes ago. He can see the whole city while riding his bike. Because his pet raven is a living satellite that follows him around while still in the air. Unless he wants it close to him. His bird really loves him and was a loyal pet friend who will do anything to guide its master. It was pointless though. But still Izuku let it guard him and have an eagle-eye shot of the city. Izuku stopped at the red light. While putting his hood back on. Around these traffic areas has many cameras that may record his face and reveal his identity. Izuku looks up at the red light waiting for it to turn green. But instantly his head shot towards his right. Someone being hurt. And that someone is someone dear to him. Growling he speed up his hell cycle not even caring about the traffic light. There were few cars here and there. Driven to the owner destination. Meanwhile. Hand over your wallets. Jewelry. Hand it over in 5 seconds before I shoot you. The criminal with blade nail ordered pointing all 10 of his fingers pointed at the two ladies. The first woman had a pissed look on her sharpened features and her red pupil stare hole through the criminal. He felt nervous but held on tight with his blackmailing. The furious-looking woman had ash blonde spiky hair and red eyes and natural pink lips and pale skin. Her hourglass body were covered by a red knee-length pencil skirt and white undershirt along with red jacket. She tightly gripped her purse not even having mercy on her own belongings and sent staring daggers at the nervous-looking villain. Meanwhile the other woman was doing the opposite the ash blonde-haired woman. She had grassy green hair locks tied into a ponytail and has the same color eyes. She a bit chubby and short and wore a similar outfit like the other woman. Difference is her skirt and jacket are light blue and pink undershirt. Please. Leave us be. We cannot hand over our money. Our children are at hospital. The short woman pleaded and was cut off when the man shot one of his nails at her. Thankfully, his aiming skills was worse and missed her entirely by a bit inch. The sharp nail hits a post and created a visible dent there. I don't care about your damn kids. Hand over your wallets or else. The criminal shouted threateningly. The blonde woman eyes twitches. Like hell we do that damn. Leave us or we have ways to deal with you. The blonde bluffed hoping to take him off guard. A one good bitch slap would be enough for him. At least her bitch slap is that powerful. The criminal panicked but accidentally shot some of his nails which didn't hit the two because they moves backwards. Shut up. Damn it. I won't say it again. He said regaining his composure. What do we do? Mitsuki. The short woman asked fearfully at Mitsuki. Bluff some more. This guy is poop head. No big threat. Mitsuki whispered back. They too thought of anything and the villain carefully moved closer to them. The villain shot his nails again which accidentally hit a LED commercial board and hitting something which made the board explode. The explosion was small but loud. The two women flinched at the voice. Before the villain could move closer they saw a black figure coming out of the left and kicked the villain in the head making him cry out and fall on his back. Mitsuki and Inko stared at their savior relieved and thankful. Mr. Aizawa. Mitsuki acknowledges the man by respectfully bowing and Inko did the same. Aizawa looks back at them and nodded. Are you hurt? He asked in his tired voice. The two women looks at Aizawa when they heard him ask. We are. But you sure you are okay? Mitsuki blurted out earning a nudge from Inko. That's rude. Inko scolded her best friend who shrugged. Yeah. Aizawa replied anyways. But then they heard shuffles and turned to see the villain is up. This time pointing a pistol at them. On your knees. Including you hero. I won't hesitate shooting this thing. The villain blackmailed. And don't even think of attack me. He added pointing at Aizawa. Gun down. There no escape. Aizawa spoke carefully and the villain struggled to maintain his composure. That's when his spirit vanished when hearing the loud sound of a bike which slowly came to their side across the road. The black motorcycle got closer and stopped at the other side of the road and the rider got off it. The three and the villain knew who the man is. But the two women knows him as someone who came to give respects to Izuku at cemetery. The villains shivered. He did heard of the massacres and even knows the vigilante roams around on his bike. Seeing the hooded figure, he instantly knew who was this man. The villain alarmingly pointed his gun at Izuku with shaky arms. Don't move. His sentence was unfinished when his iconic fire chains emerges from the ground and rip the villain apart and eventually turning him into ashes. Mitsuki and Inko had their eyes wide open noticing the black ashes. Realizing who or what the figure is. That same man was at Izuku's grave. Is none other than the most feared vigilante. Green Flame. A mass murderer attended an important gathering at the cemetery. To pay respects? Izuku did his job before anyone knows it and walked back to his bike. Only to stop by something wrapping around him. Aizawa concentrate his capture weapon. Having a hard time controlling it. Now here's the man in flesh. He's so urgently looking for. And he needs answers. Izuku turned around to look at the three and finally at Aizawa's eyes and read his thoughts. He even looked longingly at his mother even though she won't recognize him. You need answers, I see. Izuku said, not really surprising the underground hero. Green Flame knows everything. Yes. You know why I'm here then. Now tell me the truth. I want the answers. No lie, Aizawa ordered, tightening his capture weapon hold on Izuku, who chuckled. You already heard me. The dead body holds a pained and trapped soul. I'll free that soul sometimes. Izuku burned the capture weapon and rode off his bike, leaving the three behind. After USJ incident, critiques did nothing but more like advertised a name. More people talking about it and aware of a more than ever. Appearance of Green Flame attracted even more attention than they first thought. People weren't even slightly aware Nizu influence of closing a news channel. For them, it didn't appear on their TV channel menu. The channel itself was at the highest peak, which got sidelined under A and Nizu's shadow. The hot topics were bigger than that. Like the upcoming sports festival. Even Olympics got overshadowed and people don't care about those type of old games. They're interested in spending money to get the front seat at the arena. U.A always held the most entertaining sports there is. Many schools do sports festivals. Only as a dark match of a boxing. No cameras. No telecasts. Zero audience other than parents of the students. However, U.A has its prestige and luxury. The whole Japan, or even the people around the globe, can watch the U.A Sports Festival live on TV. The site of U.A has the subscribers to beef up the money Nizu can spend to conduct such an events. Those are few of the thousand reasons why many are jealous of UA. But they all hide their emotions knowing they can't do anything about it. Sports festival, surprisingly for the citizens, is taking place in half a week. In 3 days precisely. Sure, they still criticizing U.A for what happened at USJ. They're excited about the festival is gonna be an understatement. Obviously hype already built in their heart the second they laid eyes on colorful posters, commercials, news. The whole Japan is looking forward to watch the future heroes compete against one another and want to know who can match the strength of number one hero All Might. In their eyes, All Might still is the strongest being in the universe. Sadly for them, they have only half knowledge of USJ incident. All Might saved students along with other teachers and Green Flame was there to kill the villains. That's how the reports are published. In their eyes, All Might is still unbeatable and many believes that Green Flame won't even stand a chance against him. He's the only reason they feel safe out of their comfort zone. Green Flame will lose a battle they want to see in person and see the mysterious vigilante defeated by the almighty All Might. Little did they knows that Ghost Rider is unbeatable. A walking destruction. The destruction who causes extinction upon the evil. Someone beyond their imagination. The city was crowded that day. Footpaths overflowed with life. Just minding their own business. Sometimes bumping into one another. Like the road. The popular mall was as crowded. Crowded but can move around easily. Even so many people gathered in here. The mall was so big enough that those who gathered would seem like not much. It's that huge. Kids stayed closer or clasped their hand with their parents. Recently, the mall was so popular like an amusement park. And can see many tourists or natives enjoying their stay. There were almost hundreds of shops of different varieties, tempting customers to check out the goodies. Small children literally dragged their parents around like ragdoll with sparkling excited eyes. A typical children thing. Out of the thousands, one person thankfully was out of limelight. He takes in a relieved sigh and smiled to himself. Izuku roamed around really refreshed to be around people. Strangers. But his kind nonetheless. At least he was their kind before he died. That thought gave him a reasons to smile. He's dead. But he's alive. That's the most funniest joke he ever heard. He shook his head, not wanting to laugh again as he walked with the horde of people he never met before. They are sinners too. But forgivable. Their soul isn't strained. Just filled with admiration, joy, sadness, or whatever a normal person should feel. Izuku looked down at his own appearance, which was not his rider outfit. It was weird though. Striping out of that black clothing was like peeling away his skin. But eventually he got used to normal clothing again. Now he wore gray hoodie and black sweatpants and red shoes. He got it in a rather complicated way, though. Since he was planning a walk few days ago, he once felt a sense of a sinner nearby. However, the man wasn't a serial killer, smuggler, or kidnapper. No. He was just crazy rich. How being rich is a sin? Well, he's a rich man who hides his wealth by running an average-looking textiles. He sold original stuff. Dress lovers would go crazy seeing their dream company outfits that was pure and real. Many sample materials was next to each items, and that alone proves the quality of the items. However, the owner has his way of being greedy and he sold everything triple expensive so people would buy stuff and he can get so much money. He has millions of profits, yet he was an average citizen in front of others. Izuku visited the place 2 days ago with his hood up and confronted the man. The shopkeeper first made fun of Izuku and even threatened to call police. Izuku just laughed at the man, saying, if he call police he also have to explain why or how he was so wealthy. Izuku could see what crime the man did and saw the reason behind his bank balance. The man once helped out a businessman with some file-related problems under the conditions of the businessman giving money if the task smoothly done. The owner panicked but threatened Izuku with his illusion quirk, which may cause a person go crazy. Izuku see through the man's bluff, letting the man see his green hellfire fist, shutting the man's mouth. Izuku then made the man donate all his undeserved money to cancer centers, orphanage, or even charity cases, emptying his bank balance millions to just few $1,000s. Izuku did not stop there and picked himself some cheapest clothes consist of 2 sweatpants and 2 hoodies and 1 red shoes. Izuku could see how much money the man deserves by just looking at his actions through his soul, which told him the truth. And he made the man pay the bills of his shopping. After all, he's a charity case too. He can't just ask for money or ask for supplies just like that. He made the sinners pay. And he made the man pay for what he done. That's how Izuku made a millionaire poor in 5 minutes. Now all the orphanages and charity cases would not have to struggle anymore. Many kids can eat good food and wear new clothes. Many lives can be saved by the donated money. And Izuku will make sure only the deserving people could touch the money. And by that act, Izuku already started phase 2. Purify or hunt down the souls of the fake heroes. Police are yet to discover the corpses of the 2 local heroes he hunt down yesterday, and the other one pro hero got his soul purified and now doing his hero job carefully and good. Izuku already decided to purify those who committed less crimes and did not kill or take advantage on women. Killer money starved heroes dies. Not like Izuku won't approve heroes earning money. Keyword, earning. He approve heroes having money they deserve after they risk their life for others. At least they deserves that much. Izuku chuckled at the thoughts of the crying shop owner after he lost all the money. And moved forward again. Looking around, Izuku take in the view. People joyfully roaming here and there. Visiting souvenir shops, game corners, restaurants, candy stores and more. Izuku mouth watered when the aroma of delicacies being served to the customers, and he shook his head knowing he can't buy anything unless he earns his own money. At least, being the rider keeps you alive. Like no starvation, thirst, sleep. Izuku doesn't need any of those. But can have if he wants to. His sleep works like a switch. Can sleep or wake in a second. And he can even see good dreams if wished deeply. The eating part is same as normal people. Eat or not, he won't feel any difference other than enjoying the taste of food. Izuku didn't mind, and being the rider, things like this did not affect him anymore. As he was enjoying his fun walk, he stopped outside a pet shop with so many glass aquariums are on the display outside. Many color fishes elegantly swimming around the wide aquarium, and Izuku found the golden fish more beautiful, and he walked closer and admired the beauty of them closely. He then felt the jealousy of his pet raven, who probably felt its beloved master caring for other pets. Izuku bit down the urge to laugh loud at his pet. Kodaki now high up in the sky taking a stroll around the areas and eliminate bad guys. Kodaki is as fast as the light, if not more faster, and can end a sinner's life before they knows it. However, like Izuku instructed, Kodaki always starts with limps and let the sinners die in agony, letting his raven do the job. Izuku enjoyed his free day. A free day until some villains do anything wrong. Can't let Kodaki overwork. Taking in the beautiful view of the elegant swimmers, Izuku stood tall and was about to leave. He stopped and stared at the thing attracted his interest. Walking closer, he looks at the poster, with the headline imprinted on top. Udata School Sports Festival 2013. Izumi School. The dream school he always dreamed of attending. The school All Might graduated and became a great hero. Udata's this year's sports festival is so earlier, and he always was a fan of it since his childhood. Interesting. Izuku mumbles. Convinced. Izumi has permission granted to visit her mother and even do practice outside. But every offer here comes with its own terms and conditions. Nizu wasn't slightly pleased by the idea of Izumi roaming around the city of her own, and surprisingly, he assigned an arguably unnecessary bodyguard along with her fellow classmates. Not all, but all the girls. And next comes their bodyguard, who was bored as hell enough. Agreed to come with them. The R-rated pro hero Midnight. She was free that day since all the other class years got already their lessons covered and she was a numb football on a chair all the day. She once again felt more alive. Oboro Shirakumo gave her enough concerns and she made herself believe her long-lost friend is gone. She was forgetting it thankfully, and Izawa and present Mike gladly approved her choice and did not bring up anything in front of her. With all going on, Izumi didn't care much. Even she's so glad to introduce her friends to her mother. You guys have no idea. Mom Katsudon is the best there is. Izumi proudly stated with smoldering gesture. Other girls gulped at the thought. After hearing Izumi, they so badly want to take a bowlful of Inko food items. She that much praised her mother. I can't wait. Mina exclaimed. Me too. Yura chirped and Tsu agreed. Me three. Toru cheered. I'll ask for a full recipe note if you're okay with it. Momo politely said. Sure. Mom would love sharing her ideas. Her recipes are not so complicated, but the food you can make with it is outstanding, Izumi said, huffing proudly. Midnight, who walking with them in a normal and less revealing outfit, with sparkly eyes, admired the interaction between the modern teenagers and did even chatted. Joked, laughed with them like they are childhood friends. Midnight can't believe she end up being their friend even though being their teacher. The sidewalk wasn't as populated like few minutes ago as they turned to another route, and they keep joking and talking until Midnight spotted something. A green light zooming past the streets. Diving behind a building. Midnight Sensei? Something wrong? Yura asked. Midnight snapped out of her trance and shook her head. I thought I saw something. Don't worry. She lied, intending to keep them calm. Last thing she wants is to lead them into a mess. At least she told them to not worry. Because the next second, hell broke loose when they heard an ear-splitting scream of pain. Startling bystanders with them no exception. Izumi and her friends froze on the spot and Midnight panicked slightly. These kids are my responsibility. Sure as hell I keep them safe, she thought, but was too late. Izumi already took off to the place followed by her friends. Hey! Come back here. Wait! Midnight shouted, but to no avail. She groaned audibly and pursuing them. Eraser was right. These kids are problem children, she thought, and ran faster. Crossing road. They almost ran over by vehicles multiple times, but didn't mind that much. Izumi wasn't sure of her choice, nor thinking clearly. Pain scream somehow makes her protective demeanor activate. Moving on with her brother's death would have affected her possibly. Hell. Even she almost ran into action to save All Might at USJ. Everything else going on goes over her head when this happens. What are we even doing? Yura shouted, unknowingly following her best friend. Honestly. Will it sound crazy when I tell? I don't know. Izumi shouted back. Why am I even running? As the vice rep. Shouldn't I stop you guys? Momo shouted to herself. You asking us? Genius. Mina teases. Jiro was barely even catching up with them and they turned a corner leads to back streets. Thinking of even coming here at one good normal day seemed like a foolish thought. Because why on earth someone sane do want to have a walk around these creepy dark parts? Midnight eventually caught up with them and was about to stop them. But they beat Midnight into it. Izumi was the first who halted, making others bump into her, almost making her fall, but thankfully kept her balance. What they saw was familiar. Kinda used to. But still. They are terrified. Unable to calm their nerves at the said familiar sight. The scene unfolded before them was no normal stuff you can see anywhere other than the crime scene. Green flame appeared. First they saw were ashes and then few limbless living bodies, crying in agony. And then there is the inflictor of pain. The one who attacked them. And it wasn't what they expected to see. The same hellish looking bird. Green flame has. The hellfire raven. Like a hawk. It circles the scene few feet up in the air. Midnight stalked in front of the students to defend in case. She can't even order them to run without it hearing them. A bird or not. Threat is a threat. The exception of the situation is. This is not a normal bird. It belongs to the one and only green flame. Midnight released her sleeping gas, hoping to knock it out and hand it over to police. They have ways of dealing stuff like this. Breathing in the gas. The living limbless villains fell asleep and finally it envelops around the bird. That's right. She mumbled victoriously. 100% sure the bird won't struggle anymore. Izumi and others sighed in breath of relief, thinking Midnight has it under control. But their eyes widened when nothing really happened. As Kodaki just flapped its blade wings and looking at them with its fiery eyes. Soon it flapped its wings so fast, kicking away the sleeping gas which merged with the oxygen. Cover your nose. Don't smell it. Midnight shouted at the students who complied. Taking that time, Kodaki did his remaining job of ending the villains. To do things quick, the bird flapped its wings again, freeing the black blade-like feathers, sending it like projectiles with green hell flame covers it. Almost 5 alive but knocked out villains. And Kodaki was smart enough to precisely aim and keep the numbers of the feathers as the villains. Midnight, with her quick reflexes, reaches back her belt, pulling out her brown whip. The feathers were fast and Midnight barely could wrap the whip around the nearest villain, pulling him back just in time when the other 4 feathers made contact with the villain, making their body burst like a firecracker before crumble into ashes. But they saw the feathers were fine and hovered above the ashes, now pointed straight at the remaining villain wrapped up. Seeing the fire blade feathers, Izumi activates her psychic, surrounding the purple energy around the 5 blade feathers, rendering their movements temporarily useless. Acid shower, Mina shouted, doing a roundhouse kick on the air, and few big splatters of acid being thrown out of her shoe at the feathers. Thankfully, her attack wasn't in vain. Well, for making contact with the target, that is. They stood there dumbfounded, when the metal melting acid did nothing to the feathers. The acid immediately was alight with green hell flame, and the last evidence of the liquid was the vapor in the end. Momo intelligence was excellent, but making quick decisions at times like this weren't so easy for her. So she created a metal staff and stood there in case. At least she thought. The staff is useful. In reality it's not. And Jiro saw her uneasy look and sighed. She bring down her cable-like earlobe, plugged in with the speakers on her boots. Guys, move, she instructed, and the others didn't question and move out of the way just as the sound waves got produced and hit both psychic-covered feathers and Kodaki. The sound waves did a roll of a miniature storm, almost destroying everything on the way. The sudden force messed up Kodaki balance, but it still was hovering. Izumi focus soon lost, and they didn't even know as one feather sneaks around them when they have their full attention, either on the bird or covering ears. The fight ended when the remaining villain got stabbed by the feather, turning him just ashes. Just like it got released, the feathers turned back to the bird wings. Kodaki soon enough left the scene in a green flash. So you mean you aren't as powerful before? Mirio spoke, not believing what he heard as he holding a strand of blonde hair with his fingers. The great All Might's strength actually doesn't belong to him. Yeah, great. Now he's wondering which side he woke up on. Hearing the truth behind One for All is like a fiction. Yes. Mirio, my boy. As Nitai assistant and a worthy successor, I choose you to inherit the power of the One for All. To be the number one and the one who destined to beat the powerful vigilante and villains. So our society could take in a breath of relief. 2 pro-heroes perished as the first warning, it seems. They could only retrieve ashes in the name of their remains. Authority had no options but to spread false news saying another set of villains found dead. At first, society bought the lies. However, the witnesses popped the balloon of mysteries. And in the end, police were forced upon the title of liars. At this point, people don't care about authorities anymore. Obsession towards the number one somehow blinded them and supports the secretly cautious man, who spent his time mostly on training his destined successor, Mirio Togata, the third-year student, possibly the future number one, with or without One for All. The harsh truth society yet to know is that, even if he could put an end to Green Flame misdeeds, the fight is not over there. Deep in his heart he knew, even if he wins against the vigilante, his reign of as the unbeatable All Might will come to an end. 1 hour a day. The longest time limitation of being the pro hero. Per day. 1 minute lessons from the said power. And after he could not continue, Mirio is there to be replaced his spotlight. There are millions relying on him. And All Might promised himself that either of him or Mirio will bring green flame to the bright light of justice and say again, "Don't worry. I'm here." After all this time, All Might finally gave that catchphrase to his successor. So people see him as the hero they grew up loving. And All Might will make sure the infamous green flame put behind bars until he learns the pain of his victims. Sure, they were villains. But you're not a true hero if you choose the path of murder over rescue. Heroes only sacrifice themselves in order to help people keep their smile and thought of the safety. By killing two good heroes, Green Flame did the most unforgivable act. And All Might as well as the entire pro-hero community won't be thinking twice or hesitate to confront him or arrest him. All Might knew Green Flame's strength can be overwhelming, but he has faith in his successor and fellow heroes and himself. If they fight together, not only Green Flame, but the whole existence of the bad beings are powerless against them. Green Flame always hides, never seen outside except for few cases. And All Might believes the vigilante has weaknesses too. Thinking up storms in his brain, All Might overly thought all that. The hero community pummeling the vigilante to the strength of his and Mirio. The complicity of Mirio's own quirk, Mirio mastered it and was becoming somewhat stronger. And with the addition of One for All, Mirio will be the stronger version of himself. Sure, All Might couldn't defeat the Nomua. He believes Mirio is more than capable and could have destroyed the Nomua. Staring at the screen of his computer, All Might thought all that in a reassuring manner. Convincing himself, saying, Green Flame won't stand a chance. But still though, it did not quite sound realistic. He doesn't know why. But little did he knew. His beliefs are false. The reassurance sounded more hollow than ever. People support won't let him lose to Green Flame. Or his successor will surely beat Green Flame. Not only the vigilante. Mirio will beat the negativity itself. Nobody can stop Mirio, right? All Might breathing trembled. Why does it feels like he's lying to himself? Shrugging off, he focused on the computer screen. In video call with the pro heroes gathered around the big table. Due to his minor health conditions, All Might could not attend the meeting. So he chose video call as a solution. Committed over almost 500. 700. Who knows how many murders. On top of that, we have no end where we could grasp on. He's traveling literally in a motorcycle and few of you said it was loud. Then how come we cannot pinpoint his location? Rocklock snapped. We have enough enforcements. But I'm saying, we're not utilizing any of it. Egoism. Works but not here. Call for backup or something. If you see him, that is. Gran Torino comments. Egoism. What the point of that term here? One of the local heroes scoffed. You're referring us? By the way, who are you anyways? All Might knows you, he said. Another insulted the aging but more experienced hero. I am Gran Torino, former mentor of All Might. But can I ask you, why are we getting into details? I thought our duty matters the most. There is interval where we could introduce one another. And to the point, we are after this Green Flame individual. Believed to commit murders with no exception of hero or villain. No recorded patterns on his crimes. Nor witnesses other than few heroes. Some students. Possibly the survivors. We're dealing with a threat. If not, we must have talked more personally. Gran Torino said with glare at the local hero, who felt creeps and sunk on his seat. Whatever. This egoism you're bragging. At least explain us why you said that. A female pro-hero demanded. Scratching his beard. Gran Torino sighed and looked at Endeavor mainly. Egoism. I mean, self-awareness. More like overconfidence. When you work on yourself because your pride won't let you ask for help. Or backup. No direct insults. Just a friendly note I picked up. Gran Torino explains, and few groaned annoyed while few understood what the old man said. All Might distinctively watched it all unfolds on the computer screen. his lack of physical presence greatly affecting the meeting, and he could only do very much. Well, that's sorted. How are we capturing this green flame? Kamui asked. Who sat between a annoyed-looking Mirko and bored MT lady. Mirko was really mad and trying her best to calm down. She did try to at least get lead on green flame within a week. Her attempts were fruitless, sadly. Even after spending 70% of her work time, Mirko so far could only see a green light at a distance. When she got there, all there was the remains of Sharkbite. A newbie hero who was so full of himself, arrogant and dick, but still died cause of no actual reason. Pretty much their meeting going downhill with each passing minute. Who the hell even called these immature newbie heroes here anyways? Lure him out or something. I'm out of ideas. Another local hero said, like saying a joke. Hey. Why don't leave it to All Might and Endeavor? In that way, we'll see who's better. Green Flame or Endeavor. People these days are after the related memes. I'll say. The hero insulted Gran Torino spoke with a grin. What the hell? Mirko ears twitches in anger and abruptly stood up, slamming her fist of the thick table, shattering a small portion. You think it's funny? People are dying and we're in middle of fucking unknown territory of some damned vigilante. And you? Mirko shouted, leaping up, landing on top the table, and takes a handful of his hero costume and pull him closer harshly to make eye contact, and you treating it all like joke. Who the hell knows who dies next at this point? It could be even you. She yelled, shove him away and taking her seat. The hero was trembling but continues his tough act. Mirko is right. Midnight said with her arms crossed. Everyone looks at her knowing there's more. Midnight looks at them and at Tsukachi and nodded at him. Tsukachi nodded, standing up, and looks at everyone including the tablet screen where he can see All Might face. To start with, this information shows us something more than what we were looking for. Yesterday, Midnight and few of her students had an encounter. Wait, you saw that vigilante? Then why didn't you said that sooner? The local hero screams, taking his anger on Midnight, and instantly regretted it. One look from her was enough to shut him up. Others looks at the hero irritated and he huffed, looking away. Please don't interrupt. Midnight and students did not see the vigilante at the scene. But the one who's killing the villains is his pet bird. Midnight said it resembles a crow or something. Tsukachi said, sitting down. A raven. But abnormally stronger and bigger than a regular bird. Truth to be told, the bird was acting on its own. Armed with blade-like feathers. Ability to create shock waves. Wind and manipulate the green fire on its body. Flies with speed of lights. It can release its feathers and use it as a flying knife. That bird was completely immune to my quirk and did even withstand our powers easily with no limit. And the last thing it did before fleeing was strike those limbless villains with its blade feathers and turning them into ashes. Midnight described. The room was silent. All eyes wide and mouths agape and looks at her as if she's crazy. But they saw only truth in her eyes. No lies. No jokes. Complete, genuine and serious. That means what? A local hero dumbly asked. It means it's possible that threat is right above our heads and we didn't even know. Ed Shot said in his usual low tone. I mean, not that. You're saying that after you attacking it with all you got, and you couldn't even do a scratch on it? The local hero asked, jumping off of his seat. Everyone looks at Midnight for confirmation. She nodded slowly. They were shocked even more. A strong, experienced pro hero along with her strong students. Against a fucking bird belongs to their current target. And they lost against one simple bird. If that's true, then how strong is this green flame? Guy. You lost to a bird, and how you think there's a fucking chance of beating its owner? Huh? Is he strong as you say he is? Or he's even stronger? The local hero was going crazy. But he had a good question there. But sadly nobody could answer that. All Might sighed as they bickered back and forth, and everyone suddenly stopped talking as they saw Endeavor standing up infuriated. Without a word, he walks to the door. Where are you going? Mirko asked her temporary partner in Find the Green Flame mission. To find the vigilante. I refuse to waste my time here with talking with bunch of brain deads. I'll deal with it. Unlike someone who's beaten by a brainless thing. he says and leaves the room. Come back Todoroki. Gran Torino called. But no avail. The number 2 already left. Possibly to his place in hell. Tsukachi looks at the ruckus and at midnight. Wait. You said limbless villains. Right? As in, the similar to Coast Facility incident? And Green Flame's bird did all that? He questioned, silencing everyone. Midnight shook her head. I don't know what part of the crime Green Flame is part of. Either his bird does what he does, or the bird itself was behind the deformed bodies. Yesterday, we were too late to even begin with. Half of the villains dead and the rest was, like I said, had limbs cut off. Midnight answered. The fear was evident in their eyes. Until this point of their long or short careers, this is the first time they are dealing with someone who's mysterious, dangerous and unstoppable. Hell, they couldn't even find the man, let alone arrest him. Until now. Only Aizawa encountered Green Flame more than once. But like everyone gathered here, he's as lost as they are. Everything about Green Flame is weird and unsolvable. Like how he's everywhere at all once. Was he that fast? Is he even has a weakness? Or what's his identity? Where did he even come from? What was that green fire pillar? What's the extent of his quirk? Is there even limits of his quirk? What is his quirk? Many questions, zero answers. Even though people are dying while we speak. The lookouts out there still couldn't spot the vigilante. Either he's a master trickster or we're looking for at the wrong angle. Gran Torino spoke. I searched long enough, but I was always late. I spotted a green glow far distance. The next second it's gone. That alone incident proves finding him is not impossible. We should beef up heroes on patrol, or pretend to be a civilian and secretly investigate or something. Mirko said out of the blue. Excellent idea. Mirko. I'll have my men just do that. Tsukachi said. Others nodded and the arrogant local hero scoffed. Okay. Good plan, and just pretend we found him, then what? He asked. Gran Torino sighed. That's where the egoism part comes in. Do not think twice or act on your own. All you gotta do is call for backup. He explained. Even that does not go smoothly. We have All Might. He can beat Green Flame easily. Right. A woman said, looking at the tablet screen, seeing the smiling All Might. Only they knew. Who are they dealing with? Izumi was like both nervous and joyful. Because the upcoming sports festival, which is tomorrow, in front of millions of people. Students perform and show them what the future heroes are capable of. After yesterday's events, Izumi practiced more than ever. And within few hours, surprisingly, she felt the difference of using her psychic beyond its limits. Migraines were still there, but her body was continuously being improving, and her body doesn't pale anymore like it used to be. Well, not so much like before. Her body would give out eventually, though. But still improved whatsoever. Well, thinking about yesterday. After fighting with the Firebird, they visited her house, ate and had fun while Midnight was on her phone, probably conversing about the incident, and later on, they forced Midnight to take them for a walk around the big mall. The older woman had no choice but to agree. Izumi never missed the sadness on her mother's eyes meeting her friends. Izuku's absence still affecting the woman, and Izumi noticed it. If Izuku was never gone, who knows, maybe he would have loved meeting all her friends and make friends with them. But the reality never ceases to hurt you. And Izumi thought of what they say. You'll never know its value until it's gone. Sadly though, in all Izuku's lifetime, he was more a it than a him. To others, that is. Visiting her mom. Bring back painful memories where the wounds are still fresh and painful. After all, Izuku was the best thing happened to her. In her rebellious stage, he was there as a light to lead her the path and remind her of that promise she, Bakugo and Izuku made long ago. Now she have a purpose. But had a good brother. It's all memories. Wishes or whatever. Izumi still dreamed of them together. True, she forgot the dreams, but she remember she had that dream. Shaking her head, Izumi walked to her class, and before entering the class, She told herself to do her scheduled training after the class. Tomorrow gonna be a stepping stone to the bright future. At least she wants it as bright as not so blinding. Blinding light of money and fame. No. She wants the light where she can grasp it and show it to the people in dark and show them their destined way. The light which has the healing, calming nature when she shows it to a troubled individual. They feel safe afterwards. Opening her classroom, she saw all her friends exception of few who are still at dorms, sitting across their usual seats chatting with other. Ami. Hey. Izumi heard Mina shout her name. Looking at Mina, Izumi spotted a rather funny sight. A beet red Eureka sitting at her seat with other girls around her. Wait. Why is she blushing? On some occasions, Izumi blushes too, and by the look on Yura's face shows her embarrassment. But why? Shrugging, the green hair girl walks up to them with a questioning look. Come on, spill the beans. Yura. Toru jumps up and down. Yes, tell us. Why? Jiro butted in. Eureka shook her head no. Visibly trembling. What going on? Izumi wondered. Well, we're at the same track. Okako daydreaming all the way to class. Her face is red. First we thought she's having a fever, but her temperature is normal, Momo said. On top of that, she's freaking out when we asked, she's alright or not? Mina added. Izumi nodded and looks at Yurei, who nervously giggles at them. Guys, I'm alright. See? Eureka stuttered, flexing her arms. Desperation evident in her attempts. Izumi looks closer at the gravity girl and sighed when it clicked her. She having crush on someone, I think. She said. Well, she was in love with one boy at her middle school. And by the way, Eureka freaking out and blushing. That's the only explanation Izumi can come up with. By hearing that, all the girls had mixture of reactions, and Eureka almost choked on her spit and her cheeks turned even more redder. WA. No, I. Eureka flailed her hands in denial, and other girls gave each other a knowing look. So who's he? Izumi asked playfully, making the poor girl a stuttering mess. Is he hot? Mina asked, smirking. Is he cute and sexy? Toru nudges her shoulder. Eureka facepalmed, squealing in pure shyness and embarrassment. Momo gasped, taking that as a confirmation. Being their big sis figure, she didn't tease Yura. Instead was so happy for her. Tsu and Jiro giggles at what they saw. The blonde boy few feet away from them growled, really irritated. Shut up, nerds. My brain hot wiring here. Damn it. Bakugo yelled, interrupting them. Eureka was thankful though. You got brain. That's a new discovery. Izumi insulted out loud. Carries hima. Kaminari and Siro paused their chat and puffed their cheeks in an attempt not to laugh, but failed. Bakugo eyes twitched. Shut up or else I kill you, damn extras. During the little distraction, Eureka sighed a breath of relief, but knew the girls will corner her at some point. She can't help but feel her face heat up the thought. What happened yesterday did this to her? Flashback, at mall after the encountering Kodaki. Okako stood there watching people pass by at the crowded mall, and she was looking around for directions. Sadly, all of them split up at some point to mind their own shopping, and Midnight wasn't thinking straight and send an affirmative on their request. By the time she realized, it was too late. Okako sighed, not knowing what to do anymore. Sure, she got so many shops to visit and explore the place, but still have to fight her urges to not buy anything out of her range, which worth few yen of her pocket money. With you can buy some ice cream and a hair clip. She won't admit it to her friends that she's more poor than any of them. The possible outcome of Momo of all people heard her pocket money are crap. Then the big girl would at least spend a money worth of buying a shop for her. Eureka knew Momo don't see others any lower and sympathize with them. It's just in her nature, believing spending so much money for others makes them happy. At this point Eureka won't be surprised if Momo doing anything charity related. Eureka stopped in front of an ice cream shop, buying a strawberry flavored cone, and licked it while moving forward. The sight somehow was wonderful, and she had many questions which was unanswered. But that's okay. Walking around a bit, Eureka just in time finished her ice cream. Because next thing she saw was a hard chest coming and crashing against her face. Eureka stiffens on the spot, unable to do anything else. Her body felt like sparks running all over her body and heating up her body as a different but wonderful smell of something good fills her senses, and she accidentally breathes in the aroma more. Like flowers. Not any flowers. But green glowing flowers somehow got visible in her head as she breathed in the beautiful smell. She was froze like a statue, unable to move or back away from whoever or whatever she ran into. Her face burned and could feel herself blushing up a storm. What's happening, she thought, and subconsciously clung on the fabric of the person hoodie. She gulped and breathed in some air, which was also the smell, as she slowly backed away shakily and closed her eyes. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I wasn't paying attention. She frantically forms words as she rapidly bowed. Eureka was ready to take an earful from the stranger. After all, she put herself in the embarrassing situation herself. She's ready to hear the stranger's yell and complaints. At least she won't be surprised if the person do not take it easy on her. But what take her by surprise is no slap to the face. No insults. No angry screaming. But she heard what she thought the least she'll hear. An amused chuckle from the stranger. His chuckle was so soft and tender that her heart felt a small caressing. His voice is so melodic and beautiful, and Eureka blushed even more when she realized. She literally sniffed a boy and hugged him even. No worries. Wow. You a student? Huh? The male voice asked, taking her breath away. Panicking. Okako couldn't even speak properly, earning another chuckle from the stranger. She slowly looked up at the figure face and gasped, seeing his hooded head, and she could only see two emerald piercing eyes which resembled the flowers she saw when smelling his scent. Her breath caught in her throat as she looks at the godly green eyes, like she saw something that nobody ever saw. Hello. She stuttered and slapped a hand over her mouth. Hey. Eureka Okako. Right? Did I just correct? He asked. Okako eyes widened. How a handsome stranger knows her name. And why is she calling him handsome when she can't even see his face? She have no idea. Who you yes. I'm Okako. How do you know me? She asked nervously. The figure giggles and lowered his hoodie, exposing his good-looking face and white fluffy hair. Eureka eyes widened, seeing him, and her face got even more red. I saw your cute face on the news, and good luck at the sports festival. I'll support you. Okay. He said. And the cute part accidentally slipped his mouth, but was true. He found her so cute and beautiful. However, he wasn't shy. Though. He isn't an awkward person anymore. He looks at the girl his age, but was so small compared to his height of being the writer. She's so different. Wants money. That's only the reason she wanna be a hero. But still. Her soul is pure. Because she doesn't want any of the money. It's all the sake of her struggling. And great parents. She wants to help everyone with no greediness. Willing to do anything to see others smile. He thought as a strange feeling tugged his heart. She's something else. Thanks. She said shyly. She had to say that. He looks familiar. But with so much going on her mind. She didn't care for it much. Izuka reaches out for a handshake, which she shakily took and smiled politely up at him. She saw the twinkle in those beauty-called eyes of his as his hand clasped with hers. Electric spark ran all over their body as they shook their hands. Izuka knew she's meant more to him now. And he will figure it out later. Call me Deku. He introduced himself without even knowing. She's really got in his head, and vice versa. Eureka nodded and heard her phone ringing. Momo was calling and said her. It's the time to leave. Nice to meet you. Deku. But I gotta go. She said, and felt the longing in her heart already. Izuku smiled, and they looks at each other's eyes and smiling. See ya later. Beautiful. Izuku said, and she almost screamed when she called her that. See you. With that they parted ways. And still looking back to see one another. Eureka didn't knew that. She's the girl conquered the Ghost Rider heart. Sky screamed with war cry of thunder in the rainstorm that day. Uneventful. Sickeningly horrid day. Sky. With blinding lighting strikes at the far distance as the earth cooling to a temperature. That's bone chilling. Toe to head. as if crying in despair and sadness. Raindrops drenched and gave a rather uncomfortable chills on top of the pain. And bruises forming their small bodies, matching the glory of pouring rain. A little green-haired boy nose dripped of red liquid which did not hurt the poor soul as his heart was aching. As if red-hot metal rode melting through slowly in his numbing heart. The heart itself was fragile than a delicate piece of porcelain. No. Fragile as in a thin layer of glass that can be shattered on touch. Bleeding nose. His tears matches the flow of raindrops merging with the fresh water, and even the reddish nosebleed turned more pinkish upon contact of higher quantity of water. That day was worse. Dealing with 3 most devastating blows on his innocent breaking heart. With the last blow still happening before him. The first blow, which struck unexpectedly, but the pain never came though. The numbness did prevent any feeling at all. The first blow was the one that changed his normal life upside down. The truth of being the one belongs to useless 20% of the population. The harsh reality of being the quirkless. She thought better of her brother. Encouraged him but maintained her distance. Because of how she was before. The little boy stood there crying. Already dealing with his second and third blows. Second being his favorite idol kick, an outburst of hearing the betraying words of her little brother. The 3 of them swore to one another. They will become heroes no matter what extent they has to go. In order to taste their achievements in the end after surpassing all might. But that promise midway broke when the little garbage Deku turned out quirkless. With nothing to do and feeling betrayed and enraged. Kakahan first time gone physical on her little brother that day. She saw him stumble on wet grass, miscalculating each steps lead him face planting on the ground again and again. Desperately trying to reach the 2 precious people of his life. Now fighting and in verge of breaking their friendship. She stood there watching as the 2 small figures similar to her little brother. Rolling around, landing punches, scratches, kicks on each other's already busted up body. Spitting blood and saliva as their teeth clenches visibly. Tears falling 2 sets of each other's eyes matching the green-haired boy. A clear picture of pain. Anger and sadness they merges with each punches and kicks they exchanged. That being said. That's the third blow of the harsh reality the green-haired boy enduring, seeing his sister and Kiken hurting one another. Izumi's eyes was bloodshot red watching the 3 figures unable to erase. Prevent or stop the overwhelming memories as it occurred before her, and the ability to talk seems impossible here. Since a bounce of something strange coiled. Securing her body solid still. Forcing her to rewatch the scene which constantly replays like a video player. Standing 5 feet in distance. Her heart broke seeing how much her little brother reaching for them fearfully. The fear of losing one another, love and trust. Forgetting his own pain. This was the day. The green-haired boy suffered the pain of dislocated shoulder and broken collarbone. Wailing. Inch by inch. Izumi saw her little brother begging for them to stop and hurt him instead. After all. Izumi had a place of ruining the situation further when she stepped between the 2 boys. In a minute. The best friends are the worst enemy. Blood was everywhere when Katsuki threw the small girl off of him. Please. Kiken, I'm so dash. Izumi saw her little brother crawling to Katsuki's feet. Begging to punish him and at least don't hate his sister. Katsuki lips trembled. Chin fumbled. Kicking the already hurt little Deku. Anger evident every second and malice shone clearly in those red teary orbs as he stared down at the weak boy. I hate you, Deku. I hate her. From now on you're always beneath me. Damn Deku. You're always gonna be a weakling. A damn burden. I hate you. Little Katsuki yelled, wiping his eyes to get rid of tears and rainwater. We're heroes. Our past is our burden. When we save people. Hide that burden with a smile. Now she knew the meaning of the burden part. Little Deku however crawled to his Kiken. Begging for forgiveness. Forgiveness for being weak and quirkless. That confession torn apart their relationship. Leaving all the 3 hurt and sad. Izumi watches as her little self tackling Kiken to the group, throwing punches with her bruised rather heavy hands. Katsuki cried louder, using explosion on her stomach, but was weak. Which was enough to kick her away. On their favorite playground surrounded in white roses, the place their short journey began, after all the games they played. Hid and seek and all, and in the end. The journey unfortunately ended the exact same place. Where they used to have to laugh and smile. Now there's no joy. Laugh. Smile. Just grieve. Pain and anger. The scene replayed again and again and stopped at the already seen sight. Kaken slapped little Izumi's face and ran away with fierce and sad eyes. Hugging Izu. Little Izumi sat while their wounds cooling down under the bone-chilling cold of the raindrops which harshly slapped their sore broken skin. Stinging but faintly. Little Deku cried out his heart's content. With no physical but mental pain. Forget him. Friends don't hurt their besties. Little Izumi sniffles. Izuku winced. The sudden line escaped little Izumi's lips, for him. Was horrible and unacceptable. Deku heart was the purest sea where his dreams. Beliefs. Love. Trust and determination. Was infinite. In that blue sea. His Kaken. Sister. Mother, they were always belongs on top and the most prioritized people. Where he's a tiny goldfish. And he see them as the elegant and precious mermaids or king and queens. That's why Izuku never give up on them. Knowing they'll eventually give up on himself. Tha that's not true, our Kaken won't hate us. Ami. His broken pained voice encouraged her. After all her crushed their friendship. Because her little brother was weak and quirkless. Belongs nowhere but beneath the spot of a dying dog. Unable to correct or interfere with the memories. Big Izumi stood there, cannot believe she once thought that of Izuku. As more inferior than a dying dog. She did think of that long ago. Tell yourself that. Deku. Little Izumi spat using his nickname. Which means. Useless nobody. Little Izumi was infuriated and depressed. And she was feeling relief after snapping at her little brother. Who gave her a sad smile. Always that sweet smile. Hiding his suffering and pain. And comfort and make others smile. In the end. That smile no longer shining brighter. As if blind. Little Izumi never took easy on him. Even when she interfered. Did she believe the fault was Izuku? However. Anger towards Katsuki made the receiving end of her physicality. The blonde rather than her little brother. Having crush on an angry Pomeranian, little did explained why should not, after exchanging blows. Inflict wounds upon the other. The fight started when Izuku's shoulder dislocated and Izumi was going to reasoning with the blonde. Sadly he insulted and pushed her away. With anger towards both boys. Izumi found herself neither supporting both overly. But she hugged Izuku. Knowing that's the only way her mood would cool down. Despite her being slightly calm. Little Izuku's comment did not help at all. Pushing her anger to the surface yet again. That's the reason. The nickname slipped out her mouth. But like she's feeling. She did not felt regret or guilt. The rebellious stage of her life began that day. Bound to the invisible binds. Big Izumi had tears flowing. At least she thought it did. But the tears never came as she watched her past self ripping away from a sobbing little Deku. Who screamed in agony at the harsh shove. Which hurt his already dislocated shoulder and broken collarbone. You wish that jerk would return. Just forget it already. It's over. Her shout followed by a thunderclap. Loud enough to scare Izuku more. Please Ami. Are you mad at me? Can't we try? His barely audible voice cut off as her teary emerald eyes shot up to look at him and her chin and lips fumbled due to the cold and as well as due to gritting her teeth harder. It's over, I said. It's over, you fool. Don't come home whining like that. She spat without thinking and then realized the effects of her word having on him. By just looking his eyes. Shutting her eyes closed, little Izumi backed away. About to turn and run. Wait. He croaked, trying to reach out for her. Little Izumi didn't spare a glance. Sprinting away, limping time to time. Leaving her weak. Little brother who was in pain. Izumi looks down at the sobbing bundle. Longing, staring at the way his big sister ran off without a care for him. But he believes that she never didn't mean it and forgave her eventually. The little green-haired boy turns to look at the grown-up version of Izumi. And gave her reassuring smile, trying to hide his pain. Izumi wants to run up. Crouch next to him and snuggle the poor boy closer. She wanted to cry and beg for forgiveness for what her immature self did. The struggle in the end was pointless though. Her body was frozen solid. Her emerald eyes looks at his teary ones and then his precious smile that comforted her even in the worst pain he's enduring in his life. He smiles and shook his head. Don't hate her. He started referring her little self and she knew what his next words will be. Because she made him believe what he's gonna say next. I was the one that's not good enough. Then the entire scene turned blank under the nothingness of the black void. The void she believed to be her heart. Ashamed and mad at her doings. She reached to punish herself but her body never cooperates. She was still frozen solid. Suffering by her own words that lingered the void. But she and here Izuku too. Even in her nightmares. He's a little angel to rescue while her own past self played the role of a demon. In short. Even in her wildest of dreams. Izuku never hated her. The next moment she saw via a small opening. Little Izumi going back the same day after the rain stopped. With Inko besides her as they got closer to an unconscious little boy. That was an evening time. Inko got on her knees scooping up the small boy and looked worriedly at little Izumi. Who played with the hem of her skirt. Thank God. That villain didn't see you kids hiding. Inko said smiling relieved. After all. For Inko the three kids were running away from a villain attack and got separated. A lie. Little Izumi come up with afraid of her mother getting mad at what happened in reality. Then again the scene changed continuously as she saw each and everything Izuku and she gone through. Him sharing his ice cream too. He convincing her to chase down her forgotten dreams. To be the #1 hero. After all that. There's a promise. I promise. In your hard work. No burden comes your path. The little boy always believed that he's a burden. Because of her misdeeds. Her mistakes. He started to believe he's a worthless deku from that day. Utter silence. That lacks the comforts. Exposing herself to the uncomfortable void of darkness. Little did she knew. The void was her regrets. Guilt and lost arrogance. Everything that's not a good thing about her. Can be matched to the never-ending void. Never-ending. Due to the fact that she blames and hates herself. To remove the curse of darkness. Is to believe she at least did some good things and forgive herself. Unlike walk in the park. That single matter is complicated for her. Izumi body has this feeling of drenching in sweat. Muscles giving out. Body shaking. Tears rolling. The exception there is. Those were just feelings. Physically she was frozen solid waiting for another memory that unwillingly crept through her mind and like a projector. The pictures flashed in front of her. Pictures fastened up becoming more of a video. Red envelops the dark void the next second. Red being the symbol of her loss. The color of pure blood. The blood she saw on the exact place Izuku life taken away from him. This time the memory was gruesome enough. As well as the reminder of the day. The tough arrogant bitch Izumi finally broke down. Wailing and screaming as the adults closed the lid of a familiar casket. A casket where her little brother resting eyes closed. That day. Sun never has its shine. The shine that goes pale if Izuku smiles even brighter. Izumi heart clenched knowing there's no way she could ever see that smile again. The smile cured their depressed hearts. Izumi watches as she saw as her past self and family members attending Izuku funeral. She watched them dropping handful of sand on top of the closed casket. The final procedure before the burial. That day the sunshine got trapped under 6 feet of the earth. Sleeping, peacefully. Is he in peace? After all this time? She wished to know that. Izumi so badly wanted to cry or fall on her knees and beg for forgiveness. But knowing Izuku. He'll be heartbroken if he ever saw her in that situation. He wanted them happy. Be a hero for me will ya she remembered one of his last words back at school. Another reason she wanted to so badly become a hero. Sadly. She cannot believe in herself. Izumi eyes dazed. Stared around in hopes of escaping out of here. She cannot tolerate any more of the self-harm. But knew she deserved it? But then finally her eyes adjusted on a small boy standing there facing away from her. Izuku. The 4-year-old Izuku. Unable to talk. She prayed for God. To make him look at her. She did expect a hateful and ghostly expression on his face. Showing his distaste and disgust to see his horrible big sister. However. Her eyes widened the size of a saucer as he looks around and then looks back facing her. The reaction she was expecting never came. But his big green eyes grew a size of a melon and sparkled as he ran at her and ran around her like he saw an amusement park for the first time. Wow! 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 His tiny voice squeaked and he finally came to a stop. What the hell? She was confused by his response. Does he ever get mad? Wow, Ami. You look so cool. I wanna borrow that cape already. Like a bouncy ball. He jumps on and down. She can't believe what she heard. And then she noticed her wearing her hero costume. Not her normal one. But the same costume Izuku drawn for her long time ago. The one with flashy red cape. Izuku gave her a toothy grin. Full of admiration. Like he was seeing All Might on her. You know. I so badly wanna join you. Ami. But seeing you now. Give others my favorite line for me. You know that best line. Do not worry. Because I am here. Izuku said happily and mimicked All Might. Seemed to realize how bad his mimicking was. Izuku giggled at himself. Izumi watching that giggle. Forgot all the worries for a sec. And smiled. Breaking free of her statue-like state. But before she could move towards him. The small boy looks back and sighed. Mama in trouble, gotta go save her. He said, puffing, and acted like a miniature All Might and took off. Izumi watched him go with a smile on her face. Knowing he was playing All Might game with her mother. He's silly. She unknowingly giggles only to freeze again. Looking the way he ran off, she shouted to come back. Sadly. After encouraging her yet again, the Izuku on her dream vanished again. Saving her again from her own dark past. Wait, please come back. She said, running after him, but midway her legs gave out. Expected pain never came though. Jolting awake, almost screaming. A startled Eureka jumped. Really shocked. Izumi sat there not knowing where she is currently. But her brain processing things at a snail's pace. With her brain going haywire. With pounding heart and swelling eyes. She examined the white room which she was faintly remembering. But though. That's not all of it. All the students sitting around startled. Looks at her way. Deeply caring for her well-being. Almost all of them has a worries expression, and she felt bad seeing that. Soon enough. It clicked. Her whereabouts and situations. The waiting room. They're gathered in Class 1, a waiting room. Today is the sports festival, and unlike morning. When she got here. She felt more alive. She did not sleep yesterday a tiny bit though, and she must have fell asleep during their stay here. Suddenly self-awareness kicked in. Was she loud? Did she scream? If did, it may have affected their concentration and preparation. Finally she noticed Eureka is holding Izumi with both her hands and was saying something. As well as Todoroki stood beside Eureka. Face void of emotions. W. Izumi stuttered, then breathed in few times and nodded at herself. Oh. I'm sorry for all this. Izumi's voice broke. Not knowing what to say. She can't say her fight with herself in her deepest nightmares or looking for her deceased little brother. And in reality. Nobody except Bakugo and other girls are unaware of her having a brother, and he passed away. At least she thought that way. Hey. Ami. Focus on your breathing. Okay. Don't worry. You're alright. Eureka words finally synced in Izumi's head and she was breathing again. Normally this time. She had no idea. Her breathing stuck in her throat. Don't worry. But to answer your question. You were whimpering and mumbling. Was that a nightmare? Eureka spoke slowly enough to both of them could hear. Oh. That's only thing Izumi could say. After all. Her thought process was limited at that very moment. Izumi. She heard Todoroki's blunt voice. Demanding her attention. She sweat dropped seeing his gaze and emotionless posture. Yes. Todoroki. I'm sorry if I bothered in any way. In advance. She sounded really sorry and he didn't budge though. No. You're bothering me since the start. To believe in my power and utilize it more. I spotted that. You're someone who's on the way. With that strong but exhausting quirk you possess. I saw you end up doing everything better than others. To improve my momentum and strength, consider this conversation as a challenge. I'm hopping to face you soon enough. He said like talking about weather and stared her down. Sensing the tension between the two, Kirihime out of blue appears next to them. Hey. Bro. Why don't we calm down a bit? He chuckled awkwardly. I'm calm. Todoroki stated, not looking at Kirihime. Izumi thought of what he said and noticed something. Standing up, she faced Todoroki. I respect your decision, Todoroki. But I'm a dream chaser like you too. Just don't think you won't see me topping the festival. I'll give my everything like them. And you should too, Izumi replied, pointing at his left side. I wanna see your other quirk too, and I'll show you mine, she added, and Todoroki visibly tensed up. My ice quirk is strong enough. Besides, I hate my left side. It's not my quirk either, he said. To prove yourself, one has to give their all. We're doing that here. And you should do the same. Or else you won't make it to the end. Like myself. You two should rely on both of your quirks, she said. Izumi then saw Katsuki eyes on her. With one glare at his way made the blonde look away. Yurika was first to notice that. In fact, she's the only one noticed. A burning curiosity bubbled in her. To know why there's always a tension between the angry Pomeranian and the unpredictable bitch. Unpredictable as in, you'll never know what Izumi gonna do next. Like now. She was all apologizing bubbles and then all of a sudden accepting Todoroki challenge and have the audacity to judge his quirks. Yurika took a mental note though. To ask a question. Todoroki looks down at his left hand. When Izumi told him that's his own quirk. I don't care why you refuse to use that side. But remember what I said. I do have a dream to catch up with. 2. Izumi stated straightforward and sat down beside Yurika. They watched Todoroki walk away. Seemingly deep in thought. Yurika sighed. And looks at Izumi. You know. I'm a bit curious. Though. It sounds selfish of me. But I hope you won't mind enlighten me. Yurika started. Only they could hear. Startling Izumi slightly. Go on then. What's you stored in that gravity head? Izumi asked teasingly, which earned a small pout on Yura's face. Yurika shrugged. Fiddling with her fingertips. I mean. To you. This question may be personal. And don't feel like being rude. Yurika says, getting a bit nervous. Izumi ears perks up. Personal. For me. Izumi wondered. Yeah. I mean probably. Yes. Yurika more like questions. Izumi did try the guessing game. Almost everything she has is personal. But there's a few only Yura is aware of. And that few got answered back then though. The truth behind Izuku's death. Yes. Izumi told them. He was killed in car accident. And nothing more. Little of her guesses lead her that direction. Recently. Yurika and other girls wanted to know more about Izuku and her. Mostly some funny or normal incidents. Okay. I gave up guessing. Come on, ask me already. Izumi's own set of curiosity made her speak. Yurika looks at Izumi and then Bakugo, who was grumpy as usual. Izumi followed Yurika's gaze. And behold. Sure, it's about that dickhead. Katsuki Bakugo. And may or may not have she knew the damn question. Was she ready to answer? Yes. No. What's theirs to answer anyway? That he's a low-class bully. Bullies kids because he feels like it, and once he told Izuku to kill himself? Well. Isn't that too obvious? Though. You know. I mean. Why you and Bakugo don't get along? I mean. It's clear you two has history together and he knew your little brother. But can I ask you why? You hate him. And why Bakugo is acting strange around you? The question as Izumi predicted. And her best friend seeks the answer to that. Little did Yura knew. Izumi didn't know what to say. Hey. It's okay if you can't talk about it. I understand. Yura added. Seeing Izumi tensed posture. Izumi nodded and smiled at Yurika. I don't know how to answer that. You know that nightmare I had? Somewhat changed my mind, I think. How about we talk this sometime later? You know. When I'm ready a bit. Izumi said apologetically. Yurika is her first and best friend after Izuku. At least she deserves to know. What's going on with Izumi complicated life? Story of a big sister. Who was a bitch and a sweet cutie pie and a numbskull at same time. Thanks. I'll wait. Yurika chirps with a thumbs up. Seeing Yurika grin reminded Izumi of something. A mischievous smirk appears on her lips as she looks at Yurika knowingly. The tables flipped all of a sudden and Yurika saw the change of expressions. Why is she looks like Cheshire Cat? All of a sudden. Say. Yurika. Izumi started. Her evil smirk still there. Yurika gulped. Sweating slightly. Something was up. She knew it. How's your new boyfriend? Izumi asked a bit louder, attracting other attention. In a second. All the girls surrounds the poor gravity girl. Mina scoots behind Yurika and hugs her close, blocking her escape. Then was a silence. Yurika froze on spot looking at Izumi. Then like a thermometer. Her face heat up. Covering her face. She squealed shyly. Mina peels her hands off of her face and held behind her. Carefully not to hurt Yura. Who's he? Yesterday. You escaped. But not today. Mina playfully purred. You guys got all wrong. He's not my crush. Yura whined. Izumi's smirk widened. So you agree seeing a hot dude? Huh. She says, and again was a silence. And the girls grinned widely as Yurika's face turned even more redder. No no no. Yurika cut off, realizing she got busted. Come on. We won't let you slip this time. Jiro said and Momo agreed. Is he a hottie? Toro asks. How is he? Is he a charmer? You got his phone number? With all sorts of questions. Izumi added one more. What's his name? Yurika was a puffy tomato at this point. You guys are bunch of meanies. She pouted. Defeated. So. Come on, talk. Mina urges her. Sighing. She got no choice nows. Does she? Some time ago. It was her curiosity drove her into this mess. Izuku did countered on the weak spot. Yurika still though. Kept her tongue to herself. She so badly want to talk to them. But her timid and shy nature doesn't letting her. She though about something else though. Is Deku a boy she having a crush on? A hot boy like him would even mind an easygoing normal girl? Wait, did she called him hot? Due to her face was tomato by now. There's no room for extra redness. Hey. As in self-defense. The boy was so damn hot. Thinking about it. She did notice a newly built up desire in her heart. She doesn't have a clue why her body heat up when she thinks about the boy. Even if they aren't that familiar with one another. Yurika heart and body refuses to shrug away the thoughts of the owner of those majestic emerald eyes and godly features. Self-awareness did kick in her. Compared to his beauty. She did not stand a chance. At least she thought that way. Well, Yurika got cut off. Much to her happiness. As they heard present mic announcement. Welcome to the Udata Sports Festival. My listeners. I present mic accompanied by Eraserhead. Are the host of this event. To spice up things more. By the time others got distracted. Yurika slips out of Mina bear hug and escaped out of their way. For now she's safe. Unless Mina or Toru tackle her at one point and tickle her all over. Demanding answers. Heroes that day was in the form of tight security. Guarding Udata school compound all around. They job. Obviously repel any threats. Which also includes Green Flame. The vigilante. After all is as dangerous but still people are here. Confident enough that the heroes and All Might is capable of protecting. But little did they knew. When a green fire circle got formed some moments ago. They didn't knew. Izuku wearing his civilian outfit. Came out of the circle. They didn't knew. The heroes could not prevent him from getting here. They didn't knew. The infamous green flame is here. In top of the arena. looking down at the toothpick-sized figure or simply say people walking around in swarm. Wearing his black normal hoodie and gray jeans and red shoes. Izuku stared down at them and the heroes. The said heroes. Well, most of them doing their duty, while the other few enjoying the day forgetting their purposes. Izuku remains calm, sensing they don't have a stained soul. But in near future he'll cleanse them with the power of the sacred hellfire. But today, he's here to watch the sports festival. But unlike the heroes, he'll do his job if the innocents are in pain. And he also is here to watch three important people of his life. Well, his past life except for a brown-haired girl. He's here for his sister Izumi, childhood friend Bakugo, and his newest crush Okako Uraraka. Izuku chuckled at the thought of Uraraka. He's really fell for her, it seems. Thinking about her always calms his nerves. And Bakugo? Well, Izuku didn't mind supporting his former bully and childhood best friend. Bakugo is a complicated turn of his life. The blonde do cares but hates as well. A typical Katsuki. Izuku can sense the guilt and sadness hidden beneath Kaken's grumpy demeanor. Kaken. Huh. Izuku remembered that nickname he used to call Katsuki. And last but not least, Izumi Midoriya. His big sister. She did change a lot though. Her soul is now determined more than ever and he was happy about it. And there is one more strange presence along with Izumi and Yurika. Todoroki Shoto. But Izuku knows. The boy behavior will change soon. After all, Endeavor is on his hit list. The number 2. Did his job done. But the man was full of darkness. Full of arrogance and hatred. Hatred towards All Might. Something that made Enji Todoroki a misguided father and hero. He will have to clean up the fire trash can too. Once cleaned up, Endeavor would be someone who's worth admiring. Welcome to the Udata Sports Festival. My listeners. I present Mike accompanied by Eraserhead. Are the host of this event. To spice up things more, Izuku heard the announcement and smiles. The show is about to begin. See you guys later and bye.